Talk about your involvement with the Georgia Innocence Project. So you had a benefit earlier this year.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. It was a theater production. The stories of these men and one woman who had been on death row.
Yeah.
And they were exonerated.
They were exonerated, yeah.
How did you become involved with this organization?
Prior to me leaving Atlanta Models and Talent, I was feeling a tug that I wanted to do some volunteer work, and I really didn't have much time at all to do any kind of work. And I met a woman in one of my exercise classes who worked for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. She was a lawyer and an agent, so she carried a gun, which I thought was really cool. And she started, yes. So she started telling me just about some different organizations that she had worked with, and she had mentioned Georgia Innocence Project. So I started doing some research, and come to find out they were in walking distance from my house. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And then I had heard about the sex trafficking industry and how prevalent it is here. And I thought, well, maybe I can help there. So I did some research on that, and so just ended up going back to Georgia Innocence because of the fact that we're so close to the house. And the first thing I did was helped type a transcription of a woman named Teresa Farguson who was accused of killing her 6-year-old daughter. I think this was in Macon. So it was the first time that I had any exposure at all to any of this, and I'm a pretty good fast typist, and I was getting to read the whole thing of what was going on. Actually, there was like 3 or 4 of us typing it, so I would get bits and pieces every day. I would go and volunteer. And then so that was pretty cool. And then I went to a fundraiser that somebody else had put on and heard one of the exonerees speak. And his story just broke my heart because he was in jail for 17 years and he didn't do the crime. And I saw, what had happened to his life and where he was. And I just was like, I have to help. I have to do something. And so a friend of mine had actually told me about the play called The Exonerated. And she had actually told me this 2 months prior, and it went one ear and out the other. And I was just like, oh, yep. And then all of a sudden I realized, I'm like, oh, my God, I'm an agent. There's lots of actors. This is a great production, and it would be easy because it's a reading, and so it's only taking really one day out of an actor's time. So I'm not pulling them away from TV or film, even though we lost a few people. Mike Panuski actually was supposed to be in that production. Yeah. So we started putting it together, and then it turned out to be pretty amazing. Yeah.
I saw The Exonerated earlier this year, as I mentioned, and I cried, I laughed. I mean, I don't mean to sound cliche about it, but I just listening to these stories and how someone's life can be utterly dismantled when they didn't do anything wrong. It is heartbreaking.
Because you can only imagine what you would do in that. I mean, I can't even imagine, really. You can try to imagine, but it's like you're at the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah. And then the next thing you know, I mean, and there's so many stories that I keep reading about. Susan Sarandon is working on a case where this man is supposed to be put to death in like 2 weeks or something like that. She's going to be on Dr. Phil tomorrow, and she's really trying to help. And I just can't even imagine what that would be like.
How did these cases come to light?
Lately, what's been happening is they have heard about the Innocence Project because they're all over the United States, and they will write in a letter to, like for instance, the Georgia Innocence Project. They have interns who actually, law interns, who will read through all the letters. And they've had, I think, close to 6,000 letters that have come in. They will only take on cases that there is DNA evidence to prove that they're innocent. The case of Teresa Farguson, who actually was released from prison, I think it was December of 2014, she actually did her time. But she was not exonerated. She was still considered, a murderer. And so Georgia Innocence really believed that she was innocent and decided to take her case to try and clear her of that. So it's pretty difficult.
So I noticed, too, that most of these cases are men. Is that just because those are, I don't know, more high profile? There are more men in prison for these? I know it's an ignorant question, and I apologize, but I'm just trying to kind of understand.
No, I think that's probably the case. I think there's definitely more men in prison.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's really, I don't know all the answers to that as well. It is kind of interesting, but I think mainly it's because there's more men in prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you be doing any more benefits for them?
You know, I kept all the scripts and everything for the exonerated because I think it could be a yearly thing. Everybody that participated in it and in the audience, I think it's something that, could be done on a yearly basis. I would love to help out in any way that I can. Talk to a few people about possibly doing an improv fundraiser or something like that. I just know that I learned a lot from the first one. And having a team of people who are passionate about it, who want to help, is so much easier than trying to do it all yourself.
Yes.
And so I learned a big valuable lesson there that it's like, I don't have to put this all on my own shoulders, that there are plenty of other people who would be happy to help.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Do you do any other charitable work? I noticed that you rescue animals. You post a lot about animals who need rescuing. Yes. I did just adopt 2 kittens. Actually, they're not kittens. They're 3 years old. But they look like kittens. They're so cute. From Angels Among Us Pet Rescue. And they're amazing. I wanted to foster. My head wanted to foster. I don't think my heart will allow me to do that. I cat sat for 2 months for somebody, and I had to give them up. And I knew, I'm like, this is going to be hard. But I think if people go into it knowing that they're going to have to give them up and you're doing this for the right reasons and all that, it's a whole different way of doing it. I'm trying to find balance in my life. And so, yes, I want to continue somehow volunteering with Georgia Innocence, helping out animals any way that I can. And if I have to do that through Amazon Smiles or Kroger, where your money, where you go shopping is going to these organizations, then I feel like at least that's helping some. Yeah. But I realize that I have to take care of myself. And then so I can help other people as well. So I'm trying to find that balance of being able to do it all. It's difficult, especially when you want to help.
Yes.
You want to give. And that's absolutely the right place to start from. But your life can be consumed by it.
Yeah.
I adopted one of my dogs from Angels Among Us as well. And he was a foster. And the woman came, she's no longer with them. She was doing the home checks. And she dropped him off to me. I had him for about 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, I was talking to a couple friends of mine. I'm like, I don't know if I should keep him. I don't know if I'm ready for another dog because I already had one. And they're like, don't be a bad mother. You have to keep him. Like, thanks for helping me. And I called her the next day. I'm like, bring him back. I'm keeping him. And he was about to get on a transport going up north, and she had to call and see if he was actually on the truck or not. Thankfully, he wasn't. But she went and got him for me, and she brought him back, and the rest is history. He's now my little old guy.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, they were very good, though. I appreciated that they actually took the time to come to my house and check me out.
Oh yeah, I had to have 2 letters of reference before, and like all these questions, and then she came to my house, and they take it seriously, and
yes,
I appreciate that.
Me too.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, are you involved with any other organizations in town, either entertainment-wise or
not yet? I want to be. I do plan on getting involved with WIFTA, Women in Film, and also GPP. I enjoyed that a lot when I was at AMT, and I think it's important to support the industry any way that you can. So again, I'm just balancing, and the consulting business is kind of a work in progress, and I'm seeing what's needed out there, and so I'm trying to make adjustments. Trying to learn a lot. Like there's this whole social media thing is fun, and learning how to build my own website and all of that. So I do plan on getting involved more so, probably after the first of the year.
So what keeps you driving forward? You've got a lot going. You've got your own business. You've got your rescue animals and your involvement with charitable organizations. What drives you to keep going every day?
Making a difference. Yeah. Touch me again. I think that's what it's all about, connecting with people and making a difference in everybody's life.
And that's what you find most rewarding?
Yeah. And doing it for the right reason, which is what I'm also finding out. Like, I can't do it to make me feel better as far as, my own issues or whatever, that I have to do it for the right reason. And I think, to see how, just even smiling at somebody who's grumpy one day can change somebody's life, for that moment. And I think that's a lot.
Yeah. And it has to be coming from the right place. When people do the right thing, but they are obviously parading it about as a badge, look at me.
Yeah.
It's, why are you bothering? Right. It has to come from a place of genuinely wanting to help.
Right.
And that's just a nit with me, and I may or may not leave this in the final episode. I just found that I had to complain for a moment.
Hear, hear.
Yeah. So we're going to get to some fun stuff in a moment,
Okay.
but I wanted to ask you one more question. How can people get a hold of you if they want to consult with you?
Yes.
Now, you work only with actors? Do you work with other people in the industry as well, or is it specifically for actors?
Specifically for actors.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really qualified in other areas. If somebody comes to me and I don't know, I do try to find out for them.
Yeah.
But, mainly actors. So I have a website, actorsconsult.com, and an email address, actorsconsult@gmail.com. So,
Good.
yeah.
And you're on Facebook? People can find
And
you.
I'm on Facebook, too, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Great. So you can find Susan Fronsoe online, actorsconsult.com, and over email and Facebook. You're also on Twitter.
Yeah.
So get in touch with her.
Yeah.